I think we are live, are we not? Hi, everyone. It's Jackie Van Workum here with Grieving Moms Finding Hope. And it's always so difficult to say that I'm excited about something in the midst of grieving, but I'm going to just say that I'm excited because we are starting this Grieving Moms Facebook Live that we have entitled Hope After the Landslide. And we call it that because in our book that I've written, we talk about having hope after our landslide. The landslide being the day that we lost our child. You know, the picture of the snow just coming down and just falling down on top of us, and just feeling frozen, and it's dark, and you just can't move, and you just feel so hopeless. So we are here starting this Hope After the Landslide, and it's going to be every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on this Facebook Live, on this Grieving Moms page. And with me, I'm trying to be not so excited, but I can't help myself. But Sharon, my friend that I have met in the midst of my landslide, and I've had the honor and pleasure of having Sharon even stay with me in my home. I didn't know her, but Sharon will go into her story. Sharon started as a hurting mom, and now she is unfortunately a grieving mom. But I am so honored to have her, as I said, my friend, and someone that I can speak to, and she just gets me. And in addition, Sharon has been a part of the initial focus group that we did with our support groups. And Sharon, without further ado, I would just like to say thank you for being on here. Sharon is technology, right? Sharon is not sitting next to me, obviously. She is out in Arizona. But Sharon, share with us a little bit about your story.
Well, thank you, Jack. So happy to be here tonight. I'm sorry, I hear a feedback, so I'm going to turn my volume down just a little tiny bit. And my story really began about 10 years ago when I came to grips with the fact that my two sons were addicted to drugs, and it was just a change in our whole family dynamics. I am happy to say that my oldest son has been in recovery now for over a year, and he's doing well. And he's rebuilding his life and making us very proud and making better choices. He decided he wanted to live, and he knew that he needed to make some changes. In the midst of that, we unfortunately lost our son Nicholas, who passed away April 29th of 2015, and he died of an accidental heroin overdose. And during that time, I have to say that even though I always knew about God, and I had a very strong faith and belief in God, and I knew scripture, and I had a great church support, I found myself buried, and I didn't know how I was going to come out. And thank God that, through Hurting Moms and Grieving Moms, I have been able to learn how to cope with grief, and to learn techniques that have helped me stay focused on my own healing and my own recovery from the landslide that I was buried under. I am no expert in grief by any means. I've only been the victim of, but from my own experience and the things that I've read and the things that I've heard from other hurting moms and grieving moms, is that when the time comes for us to realize that we want to start looking towards a joyful, helpful, productive life, there's always people readily available waiting for us to resurface, and waiting for us with open arms and open hearts to guide us into the light. And I think that's what the groups Hurting Moms and Grieving Moms are doing for people, just like the groups have done for me. And so even though I graduated from a hurting mom to a grieving mom, the support has been the same, and it has been constant, it has been pure, it has been true, and it has been solid. It has been tested and tried, and that's why I am so confident in not only partake of it, but also take on the challenge of leading one of the Grieving Moms groups coming up here. Actually, tomorrow, Wednesday, January 31st, we'll start a new Grieving Moms group at my church, and I want to take a second to acknowledge the fact that our church has been so supportive, even though our church really doesn't have a lot of experience with mental illness or opiate epidemic, side effects of opiate epidemic. However, they have been very open and supportive. Our clergy staff, our adult education staff, and every person represented in my church has been nothing but supportive. And so for the last 2.5 years, they have opened their campus for hurting moms on a weekly basis, no charge, nursery provided. Moms that are not able to, purchase the material are not required to, to make that sacrifice if they're not able. The church donates the material, and the church heavily promotes and advertises both hurting moms and now grieving moms through our congregational care ministries. And so I encourage everyone out there to, if their church is willing and able to do something like that, to ask their church how they can help.
Yeah, that's you have amazing support out there. And I don't know how big, the areas that you live in, but there's some really small towns I know that are around there that would, I'm sure if you just ask, be willing to do that, because if you're in a small area, there may not be a lot of moms around you that you can connect with. But the church knows of their people, and they know the grieving that goes on within the church. So, right. And I'm so thankful for you, Sharon, because you have stepped up to the plate, and you have, resurfaced, and you are wanting to get out there and link arms with these other moms, and that's what I want to. We have so much that we could share, and the one thing I want to say to everyone is that my heart has been, of course, hurting as much as yours has, and I often get asked the question about, like, well, how can you just recover so fast from this landslide and get out there? Well, everybody's going to grieve differently, and I felt it in my heart, and I know that it's been leading up to this place where I've had this heart for women, but I can't, it just hurts me even more to know that you ladies are out there and you are so isolated, and that is when the enemy does so much of his work, and instead of being insulated with friends and family, and being most importantly insulated with God. But if you're out there by yourself and you're feeling hopeless, it's with technology today, and if you don't really know much about technology, right, Sharon? People can help you. We can help you with that, but to get connected, because there's no reason why you've got to do this alone. We hear you. Like, we hear you. We cry at night in our pool too, right, Sharon?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And I wanted to ask you, Sharon, so initially, it's going to go on, how long ago? You said it's almost 4 years? 3 years?
It's going to be 3 years this April.
3 years in April. So it's still just milliseconds away. It just happened. And so I want to ask you, when this landslide first hit you, what? We all went through that, frozen, and what do we do? We're in shock. I mean, there's just no words. But what was it for you that created this feeling of you're just going to keep going?
Well, I realized that I have other people around me that need me and enjoy being part of my life. I have my family, my friends, my neighbors, my church, my workplace, and so even though I was a grieving mom, and I will always be a grieving mom, even though I have found a way now to live a joyful life in the midst of my grief. And I'll get to that in just a minute because I know it almost sounds contrary to say that I have a joyful life in the midst of my grief, but I realize that I am more than a mother, and I am a mother to other children and a grandmother to a grandson. And so I couldn't selfishly allow myself to be immobile, inactive, absent from my loved ones just because I was grieving. I don't think Nicholas would have wanted me to do that. I think we need to be responsible with the life that we're given, and I think we need to make positive choices with the days that we live. And just like we can never judge what other people choose to do with their life, we have to take an assessment of the things that we have, whether it's a spouse or whether it's other children, whether we have pets or animals or neighbors that we care for or tend to. And we need to be responsible to be there for those people. I think in doing that, we're helping ourselves to be a vital part of our community. I believe that we are part of an interconnected community, and that's what I love about the sisterhood that we are forming here, because in that community we can share, we can cry, we can pray, we can laugh, we can experience things that we haven't experienced before that will help us along the journey. We have talents, we have gifts, we have abilities that if we don't act on those things, we are depriving ourselves from the joy of fulfilling the purpose for which we were made. We're depriving from the joys of seeing other people be involved in our relations to them. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a friend, and so I have to use my time, my gifts, my abilities, my health to fulfill those other obligations. And to be honest with you, grief will speed up aging. It will speed up menopause. It will speed up. It will speed up maybe the advancement of any diseases that we may have, whether cardiovascular or others. And grief will speed up a whole host of things that, honestly, I do not wish for those things to be speed up any more than they are naturally on their own. So I started looking at myself in the mirror, and I started realizing that my grief was affecting me physically, and it was debilitating. It was not the way that I wanted to live my life, and I choose to be healthy, and I choose to be stable, and I choose to allow myself to grieve when the time is right. I exercise self-control, and I exercise responsibility. Every now and then, grief gets the worst of me or the best of me, and I have moments where it's inevitable. I'm going to burst out into tears, or I'm going to feel overwhelming sadness, and I may have to excuse myself out of the room for a moment. But I've learned to compose and keep poise in public, at work, at church, and places. And then it is okay for me to have a cry day. Maybe this Friday from after work from 5 to 8, I am going to have my cry time. And that's not every Friday, that's not every week, that's not every month, but I do allow myself to have moments where I can unleash my sadness. Otherwise, it will just create a lot of stress and anxiety, and I feel it with headaches and sleepless nights, overeating, and crankiness and things like that. So what I do is I allow myself to have those moments, and then I remember something that God spoke to me clearly, and I wrote it down. This was last year. during one of my travels, clearly I felt that God was saying, all of the days of all of our lives are counted, and it was no surprise that my son's last day came. The thing that God impressed upon my heart is that my life remains, and my life is His, and my last day is not here yet. And so I need to be everything that God had hoped for me to be. And as my Father and as my sustainer and my maker, He will enable me every day, moment by moment, by His grace and by His love and by the tools that He's placed in my life, by the people that He's put in my path. I will make it through. I will make it through. And I keep telling myself that. People die of cancer. People die of victims of crimes. People die of unfortunate car accidents. People die of illnesses. We cannot fear death. We have to fear not living the life that God has blessed us with. And so my anthem is to walk in joy, to ask God for peace when we are tormented by the grief of not having our child. When we are angry, take your little gratitude journal and just find a little blank page and write down in your gratitude journal some of the things that you have been blessed with, some of the joys that you see every day. Even if it's just a rose out in your morning walk, even if it's a song from a bird by your mailbox, anything small or big that makes you joyful, write it down in that journal and look at it and make a point to do that every night. And you will always find a reason to be grateful. We are on this side of glory. Our children are on the other side of glory. But we are still connected by the glory of God who sustains us both. I pray for Nicholas's soul, but I also pray for mine. Because in this life we will have trouble, but I do believe what Christ said, that if He has overcome and He's asking me to take heart and trust me, I'm not going to do it alone. He's going to help me and He's going to see me through it. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to have moments of darkness and doubt. I ask God to increase my faith. And when I do, He gives me beautiful words like Isaiah. I'm going to read it because I don't have it memorized, but I'm going to read this to you. And this is Isaiah 43:19. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now springs up. Do you not perceive it? God is doing a new thing. He's putting together this beautiful group to support us, to help us, to bring light into our darkness, to throw a rope when we feel that we are just falling off the cliff. But we have to take that first step. We have to move. We have to take action. We have to allow ourselves to heal. We cannot just continue to wait for something to happen. The moment is now.
Wow, that is lots of information. That is just, and everybody could look at you and look at me, or any of the other grieving moms that you may know, and just say, wow, but that's her. She's got a really strong faith, and come up with all the reasons. But Jesus just said, I remember scripture, and I'm like you, it's like I don't want to give the wrong address to it, but it's like He said to the man, do you want to be healed? Do you want to be healed? And the answer for me, and I know for you, and maybe many of you, is like, yes, I want to be healed. And oh my gosh, Sharon, that was so beautiful. Like, yeah, Nicholas's day, Randy's day, all of our children's day, it was numbered. And ours is, we still have our days ahead. We don't know how many, but in that time, you're right. And there's something so amazing that happens. There's that oxytocin that happens in our bodies when we reach out our hand and we grab another sister and say, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And we're going to link arms together and we're going to do this. And you share a scripture, and I too am going to say I don't have it memorized, but the scripture is so perfect, and this comes out of our Grieving Mom support book, which is in Philippians 3:12 through 14. And I'm not saying that I have this all together, that I have made it, but I am well on my way, reaching out for Christ, who has so wondrously reached out for me. I've got my eye on the goal, where God is beckoning us onward to Jesus, and I am not turning back. That is not because my faith or Sharon's faith is any stronger than any of yours. And when you can, you will. Dave Warren said, and that is one quote that I hang on every day, so that I'm not in a place of, well, she did it, like, why are you not doing it? It's when you can, you will. But as Sharon said, it's like every day you're going to wake up and you're going to just ask God, like, what do you want me to do with this? You know, I'm not asking that question anymore. Why did you do this, God? Because God didn't do this. I'm going to ask him, what do you want me to do with this? And it could be just simply having a conversation with one woman. And that's why it also, it's like I said, it grieves me to know that I've got other moms, other sisters in Christ that are out there, or if you're not a believer, you know, and my prayer is that you will find him in the midst of this grieving, because I don't want you guys to be alone. And, you know, I am so motivated I have always been motivated to help women to take off the hat of being a mom, you know, a wife, an employee, a manager, whatever her role is. Take off her hat of all those roles she is, to just be a little girl for just a couple of hours and have fun and giggle. And a lot of times that's what, believe it or not, we do in our Grieving Moms support groups that we have together. People walk in and they're heavy-hearted and they're crying, and we get it out, though, right, Sharon? And then when they're leaving, I mean, they're hugging and they're laughing, and I can't explain it. And I want to go back to, and I'm going to let you continue on. One thing that you said many things that were amazing, was that you do all of these things, that you are that mom, and you are the wife, and you are, you know, the aunt potentially, and all those other titles that you have. But in the midst of it, you hear that Sharon said that she has to do self-care. And that self-care, you know, we always talk about being on the airplane. It says, you know, when the oxygen mask comes down, you put it on yourself first. I mean, it's said so many times, but there's so much power in that if we're not taking care of ourselves, we are not going to be able to, A, do what the will of God is, and B, to be able to take care of these other people, because we're mom, and we're going to make ourselves last, right, Sharon? Always making ourselves last. But we have to say, no, I am going to take a walk. Yeah. I know you guys can make your own macaroni and cheese. I'm going to take a walk. My daughter-in-law would be like, macaroni and cheese, make sure it's gluten-free, but to get out and take care of ourselves. And that is so important.
Yes. And it also helps the people around us, because we have to be aware that we're not the only one grieving, right? I mean, there's so many other people grieving this horrible loss. So when I think of my own life, so, you know, Nicholas had a father, Nicholas had a brother and a sister, Nicholas had grandparents, he had friends and things like that. And so many people are also grieving. And a lot of times, you know, my behavior affects the way that other people handle or deal with their own grief. And so I always try not to avoid, because I don't want, grief is not something that we should avoid, even though we should control it. We should not allow it to steal our health. We should not allow it to, you know, break the structure of our livelihood. And so I have to be very careful when I'm talking to other people or interacting with other people, so that I'm respecting the place they're in and I'm listening to the way they feel without trying to project my own grief. I want them to have a moment to express their grief. And that's it takes a little bit of patience because first you have to stop thinking about your own grief as a mother, and then you have to think, oh my gosh, my daughter or my son is telling me all these things or acting this way or doing this or avoiding that. How painful, how sad. And so I allow them to grieve and I allow them to have their moments. And then another thing is we keep our communications open. So we don't want surprises. We want to be prepared. So if we know that there is anniversaries or birthdays or Christmas or any special holiday coming up, I always ask, how should we celebrate? What do you have in mind? How do you see this happening for this holiday season? I don't assume that it's always going to be the same every Christmas. I don't assume that it's always going to be the same tradition or what have you, because people change, things change, time changes everything, right? So we just talk about it, and I ask them, how would you feel if I hang up the stocking this year, or how do you feel if I don't hang up the stocking this year? And so we have conversations and we talk, and we respect each other's opinions and we honor each other's wishes to the best that we can. But then we also have a plan of escape. Like if something happens and there is a trigger that causes us to lose composure or get upset, instead of having the whole family upset, then we deal with it individually and we give each other the space and the time to do that. But Jackie, those are things that you learn through research and reading and praying and talking to other people. I am not a grief counselor. I'm not an expert. This is just my own personal experience. And I hope that the moms that are listening tonight will allow themselves to try different things. Even if we make a mistake, it's okay, because we're doing this in love, and nobody really knows how to handle your family better than you. So just try different things to promote and invite healing and welcome healing, not only for yourself, but for your family members.
That is, wow, Sharon. We are unfortunately running out of time, but Sharon, you have given us so many wonderful words of wisdom, and through God and through your reading and through your own experience and talking to other moms. And I know the question is like, okay, well, what do I do? And I didn't sign up. I wanted to write something, and I didn't sign up and say, oh, I want to write a book on grieving. But the way that God behind things that I met up with my publisher Sherry and Kathy Taylor at Hurting Moms, and now you. And then we come up with, the Grieving Moms Resurfacing is a support guide, and it goes for 12 weeks. And in here, you're going to hear about so many things that Sharon talked about. And, we refer to it, of course, as I said, the Landslide. And it's going to be talking about dealing with other people and dealing with anniversaries, birthdays, and holidays, and trigger events, coping skills, and it goes on. And it's all things. It's like, we're not here teaching you how that you should grieve, because nobody wants to be should on, right? And I have to say that because that's Jackieism. But nobody wants to be told how to do something. And so on the grievingmoms.com website, if you go to the top and you go under groups, click on the tab there, and then you will find that there's going to be online groups. And as Sharon said, you can ask your church if they want to start one up in the church. You can start one in your home. Again, when you can, you will. And currently we have Monday night that's going to be on with Lisa, who has stepped up to the plate. And on Wednesday and on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. with me, I'm doing one also at Saddleback Church here in Lake West, California. And in addition, I have been writing the devotions every day called Hope at Sunrise, and they will be found on the Grieving Moms Facebook page. And you can also go on and sign up to get those into your email. You can, pay it forward and share it with another mom if she's maybe not so into the technology. But you can sign up to get those in your email every day. We're working on that to happen. And I'm looking forward to eventually getting all of those put into a beautiful devotion, because I just can't help getting it out. I can't help sharing, and I'm raw and I'm real. And as I mentioned, we cry. I cry for my son at least once every day, and it's just part of the healing, as Sharon said. It's part of the healing. So God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for taking the time to be here, Sharon. Thank you so much for your godliness, your wisdom, your beautiful smile, your willingness to help us out here, Grieving Moms. And again, we are always looking for other leaders to help us with start up these groups. But everything will be on the grievingmoms.com website. It's very simple. You get on a Zoom, called a Zoom. It's on the computer. It's on Zoom, and it's very easy, step by step. It's not gonna, what is the word? It's not gonna intimidate you, because we're gonna walk you through it. And once you get on it, you're gonna get to see like these Brady Bunch faces on the screen, where you can all be together if you can't find a small group in your hometown. So. And I noticed there's a lot of comments, and because this is my first time to do this, I'm just going to say thank you for all your comments. I'm going to come back and visit those after we're done here, which we are done. But again, thank you so much, Sharon. And ladies, please don't wait anymore. It is not okay to do this by yourself. You can't. Without the help of God and doing this together, it is going to be a very slow healing process. And again, don't isolate by yourself. You got to insulate with God and with other moms. So thank you so much, Sharon. I love you. Mwah. Enjoy the rest of your
I love you.
We will see you next Tuesday.
Sounds great. Thank you. Bye-bye.